we are going to welcome in the D-Man for the D-Man's picks. 5 picks against the spread. D-Man, let us start with the Browns. 2-point underdogs at home against the Seahawks. Seahawks on a long week as they played Thursday night. Browns on a short week as they played Monday night.
Yeah, Dave, I don't want to be accused of being a homer because I am not a homer, but I'm going with the Browns, even though I have the 31-3 destruction by the 49ers still rattling around in my head. The reason is, number one, pride. You're not going to tell me the Browns are as bad as they showed on Monday night because the previous week they had gone to Baltimore and won. They have professional pride. They are going to be at home. I refuse to believe also that the Browns will fall to 0-3 at home. I just can't even fathom that. You could talk about how the Browns have a soft second half of the schedule, or so we think. But still, no one could have imagined, even with the hard part of the schedule at the front, of the first half, that they would go 0-3 at home. So that's in play for me. Also, as good as the Seahawks are, as lights out as quarterback Russell Wilson has been, they're still on the road. They're multiple time zones. So I'm trusting the Browns to pull this one out.
Yeah, the Browns are going to be a tough team to figure out all season long. I think it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have some head scratchers, both good and bad. Don't forget this team that put a beat down on the Ravens, which is a pretty good football team not that long ago. We'll move on. Redskins, a 3.5-point underdogs on the road against the Dolphins. And boy, you really got to be into the spread to be looking at this game.
The toilet bowl. I have been going back and forth on this right up till taping of this segment. But you know what? I'm going to go with the Redskins. And as I said, back and forth. 2 hours ago, I was thinking Dolphins. Because when the Redskins fired Jay Gruden, and now Bill Callahan is the interim, you don't know which way a team's going to go. Some teams continue to slide. Other teams rally behind the interim. So I suppose I'm putting my faith in the Redskins players weren't necessarily in love with Jay Gruden and have enough respect for Bill Callahan that they're going to max out with the effort. But when you look at the rosters, truly, the Redskins are a better roster. As terrible as both teams' records are, winless, the Redskins have a better roster, and specifically a better defense. So that's what I'm going with in laying the 3.5 on the road. I don't think the road part of it should rattle anybody because, it's Miami. And yes, the Dolphins have given some teams issues for a quarter or a half. So you think about the Dallas game. They gave Dallas trouble for a half. They gave the Chargers trouble for a quarter and a half. But because of their lack of talent, they fade in the second half. And that's where I think the Redskins, who have now named Case Keenum the quarterback, Callahan's going with Keenum, I think they prevail by more than 3.5.
Yeah, and you mentioned quarterbacks. Browns fans can relate to all the quarterbacks on both sides. They're looking a lot like what the Browns fans have gone through since they came back before Baker Mayfield. Let's move on. Texans at the Chiefs. Chiefs at home, 4.5 points favorites against the Texans.
Yeah, I'll admit that in going with the Texans here, I am overreacting to a degree to what I saw last week, which was the Indianapolis Colts come into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. I flat out admit to an overreaction. What I'm not overreacting to is how severe Patrick Mahomes was limping around the field. And then they showed why he was limping. They showed the times where he got hit on an already injured ankle. And yeah, I haven't seen him ruled out. It looks like he's going to give it a go. But you can't tell me that the human ankle, even on Superman, like Pat Mahomes is to the quarterback position, that it can heal that quickly. All it takes is one hit, and he's gimpy again. And I also have a lot of faith in Deshaun Watson. I think Watson is a phenomenal player. He's playing at an MVP caliber, in my opinion. So I think the Texans come in to Kansas City, and even if they don't win, they cover the spread.
49ers at the Rams. The Rams at home, 3-point favorites. They did not play well Thursday night against the Seahawks, who were coming into town. And are you buying the 49ers that you saw Monday night? They looked good against the Browns. I'm still not 100% sold on that, though.
I am taking the Rams in part because of what I call the Tennessee Titans rule, which is never overreact to a team that beats up on the Cleveland Browns. Go back to week 1. The Tennessee Titans, 43-13. They come into Cleveland. They destroy them. They're chirping. We are who they thought they were. And then they proceed to lose their next 2 games. So I've got that in my head as I think about this. The Rams have had extra time to think about their disappointing performance in Seattle. They've lost 2 in a row. They're not losing 3 in a row. And yes, you could say that the 49ers are good at 4-0. You are what your record says you are.
Right.
But I'm not totally buying the Niners as some invincible, dominant force all of a sudden. And you're going to tell me, while you're selling me on the Niners, I have to believe that the defending NFC champions are all of a sudden mediocre? So give me the Rams laying the 3.
And the last one we'll talk about, Falcons, 2.5-point favorites at the Cardinals. That shows you just how far the Falcons have fallen.
Well, that's the point, and that's why I'm taking the Falcons, because it's desperation time in Atlanta. I mean, you could make a case that they're fighting to keep Dan Quinn's job. I mean, I don't know if Falcons players would admit to that, or even if it's on the table. Maybe Arthur Blank is incredibly patient, but the Falcons have been a disappointment this year with 1 win. You're not going to convince me that they're going to go into Arizona, which is young, very young, and rebuilding and all this stuff, and all of a sudden you're going to lose to the Cardinals. You're going to tell me the Cardinals are going to win 2 games in a row because they've beaten the Bengals the last week? But I think most of this pick is about the desperation that the Falcons are going to feel. They are too talented on offense to be, 1-4? To have a 1-4 record. And by the way, the win that they had against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think at the end of the season, the Eagles are going to be a really good team. They're going to be in the playoffs. So don't tell me that the Falcons are incapable when they've beaten the Eagles. But this is a desperation game for the Falcons, and I think they win it by more than 2.5.
D-Man's picks. You can find more of them in cleveland.com and take a look through them. D-Man will be joining us as well with his picks here on More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition.